same direction, and the magnetic field on the top of the magnet is downward. So the induced magnetic field should also be downward to strengthen it.
So we have this induced magnetic field pointing downwards.
Right.
So which way is the current going to flow above the magnet?
The opposite. Yeah.
So we're inducing two currents here. We got to, I say two, I mean it's happening all along in front of it and behind it. But we're inducing currents acting in the opposite direction. Below it is inducing a current, assuming this is north and down, the field magnet. It's inducing a current this way, which puts a north pole on top, south pole on the bottom, and the north poles repel. On top, it puts the current in the other direction, and we get an attraction. So it's being repelled on the bottom and attracted to the top, which slows it down. The more powerful the magnet, we can get a much greater change in the magnetic field, especially at this point right here, there's no change in the magnetic field when it passes this spot, as it flips going from one direction, as it passes that neutral spot. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, I'm gonna start repeating myself at this point. Questions?
Is there a magnet strong enough to stay at equilibrium?
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, we'll go with yes. And this is what I talked about before of if I've got a superconducting material down here. And the reason it needs to be superconducting is I want no resistance. The resistance is zero or at least unmeasurable. If I take a magnet, which has to be light enough, because a heavy enough magnet, gravitational pull is going to pull it down. So I need a light enough magnet here, and they're usually, the ones I've seen, usually about that size right there. So that as it falls, we get a change in the magnetic field here, which is going to oppose that falling, which is going to create a current here, which is going to create an electromagnet, which then opposes it. So it's basically going to fall and then get pushed back up and then fall and push back up, and it's going to quiver right there. And you can get it to the point where if you got something small enough, you can actually tap it and get this thing to spin as it hovers above. And so there are two effects here. The Meissner effect is the one that I keep remembering, and then there's another one which is similar to it, which I can't remember the name of. And I think it's with two S's. It could also be with an S. Don't think that's right.
Does this have to be inside of like an enclosed space?
This?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, because like you've seen like the magnet demonstrations where they've got like the floating magnet because of the field, but I think that's unrelated to this.
Yeah, it depends which floating magnet demonstration you're talking about. I mean, you can have, if I've got a pole there so they have no sideways movement, I can have a magnet here and a magnet here and it will stay suspended above it just because it's not going to fall off. This one is just basically open space just so long as you can keep this cold enough to keep it superconducting.
Okay, gotcha.
Give it enough time, whatever you're using to cool this will evaporate off and it will lose the superconductivity and the thing will ultimately fall. And I think we're probably have to just end it there. Oh, I guess one other thing. All right, so magnet. Hopefully you believe it's a magnet. The rattlesnake eggs, or whatever they're called, various places.
That's what I was talking about when we first started this.
So now I'm going to drop this one through here. Did not seem to have any Lenz's law, Faraday's law effect involved here. Why not?
Is it because there is I was about to say, is there not a distinct like north and south?
Oh, there is a distinct north and south. That's not the problem.
Is it because it's too heavy and like gravity? Because those
Not the big issue here. It does weigh more than the other ones.
They're behind. They're behind you on the board.
Looking for this set. Hey, perfect. All right, so these are weak magnets. This is basically refrigerator magnets. So in terms of weight, these feel like they're about the same weight.
Is it because the north and south is on the sides of it instead of the top and bottom?
Yeah, and that's the difference there.
That's why they stick in the middle, okay.
So if you were able to drop it horizontally.
Then potentially you would start to see the effect.
Yeah.
But we don't have the north pointed downwards. The north is pointed to the side. It's long like that, but the north is pointed to the side. So we don't really get the same. Yeah, we can't get the magnet below and magnet above. Repelling and attracting. Anyway, we'll leave on that note. All right, so the lab on Wednesday is a long lab. Hopefully, it can be done in 2 hours. Hour and 50 minutes.
Missing the days you leave at 1:30 and be like, okay, bye.
What is gonna happen is the lab I'm making last minute changes to. So it should be posted tomorrow. If it's not posted, I'll bring the lab in, but I should have a link to a video by tomorrow where I actually do the lab. I strongly recommend that at some point you watch the lab that I posted, just so you have a sense of what's gonna happen in the lab.
I do those things.
Trying to remember,
I'm satisfied.
they belong to one of my kids. So you'll have to deal with a crying adult if they break.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you for not breaking them. Because then I would have to deal with crying.
I only take stuff like that without most care.
Ah, thank you. Typically with the original test,
Okay, yeah, sure. I figured you wouldn't want it.
there are, I mean, I can take it without the original test, but there are times when I'm going, wait, what did we do the first time? And so that, it's helpful in some situations. So thank you.
Yes, no problem.
And I just remember, there's one other thing that I was gonna do. There are a couple people who weren't here when I handed stuff back, so I was gonna hand the stuff back. But yeah, that